Present.
Present.
And if you all stand, Councilman Leon Potter is going to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item D is a measure to adopt the agenda. I'd like to, before we do that, throw out an idea to you guys. Numbers 2 and 3 of electing our officers have traditionally been at the beginning of this meeting, but if we might want to throw that to the back end of the meeting, given that I recall 2 years ago when I was so honored to be elected, it'd say, here's the gavel, go get them. So it might be with the appointment of new officers, it might be nice for them to have, not to know when they're going to start to lead their first meeting. So food for thought.
So you want to move them after all the action items then at the bottom, at the end?
It's a recommendation, yeah.
Yeah, you'd move it to...
Yeah, after
The end of the
9H.
agenda.
You'd make it 10. And I'm fine with that. I mean, it does make it easier. I remember it was a little awkward. So I'm fine with that. So...
Then I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the agenda with the change of moving items 2 and 3 to just before adjournment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, call to the public. Is there anyone here who would like to address the board? Members of the board may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431.01H, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for a future agenda. The board requests that all comments be limited to 3 minutes or less, and that the public refrain from the use of speech or language that is offensive or inappropriate, pursuant to Board Policy KFA. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Trace Starkey, president of Maricopa Seniors, and I live at 42521 Debbie Road in Maricopa. Tonight I'm here on behalf of Maricopa Seniors.
Just want that on the phone.
I'm just so excited. Maricopa Seniors is so grateful and so appreciative to MUSD. This was our second annual Night of Remembrance that we just did this past December 2nd, okay? Without the help of MSUD, this would have never been possible. And there's some particular people I really want to thank is Jack Walbeck and Robert Ramirez, who from their IT department, but more than anything, Peter Patrone, Chuck King, and the students. We receive the pictures, and we give them to Pete. And he and his students take all these pictures of all these loved ones that have passed on that we're going to remember that night and put them in special groupings, and the last name is on it. And the people that attend this, they are just so grateful. It's a hard evening, but it's a blessed and it's a good evening because they keep coming back, and more people call me and say, make sure I'm included next year. So many times we think of a school district and we think a school is there to educate our children. Well, I am so happy to know that Maricopa Unified School District is here to support the whole community, and especially Maricopa seniors. I just am so appreciative, and I look forward to having this program with you again next year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Starkey, and thank you for everything that you do for our community. Does anyone else like to address the board? Seeing no one, we'll move on to governing board member reports. Dr. Chestnut, you want to start us off? Or do you have anything?
Superintendent report?
I'm ready for that. Is that?
Yeah, I was going to do it then.
Which you want to go first?
Well, first and foremost, I would like to congratulate Mrs. Anderson and Ms. Gay and welcome Ms. Gay to the dais for the first time. So happy to have you. Also like to thank Mayor Price, former Mayor Anderson, Councilman Potter, and Councilmember Gussie, who were here for the swearing-in ceremony a little bit ago. So.
Councilman Potter's still here.
Okay, so
Any other board
Governing,
reports?
are we doing governing board report?
you skipped over
Superintendent's
superintendent's.
report?
My bad.
It's okay. You guys go first.
Okay. I do have something to report on the governing board. As of December, I was appointed to the Arizona School Board Association Board of Directors as Pinal County's ASBA director. So more meetings, which makes my husband happy. But it's a good thing for Maricopa, and I'm excited to be able to represent Pinal County and work for all the kids here in Pinal County. So just wanted to let you know, we're going forward.
Anybody else? I'd like to turn it back to Dr. Chestnut, sorry about that, for our superintendent's report.
No problem. Happy to report on a few things tonight, and thought I'd start with a picture of girls' basketball because it is basketball season, and a lot of good stuff going on in Maricopa High School gym as well as our middle school gyms. Wanted to say congratulations to our newly elected governing board members, and we've said this several times, but it's a big deal to have new board members. We're very happy to have them, and I just happen to have a little gift bag here with some Maricopa High School stuff that you will need as a governing board member. So I have one for Tori and for Veronica.
You can't effectively do this job without a foam finger.
I'm telling you.
Or pom-poms.
You know what? I should take my pom-poms out from high school. As an alum, that would be great. That'll be fun. Thank you.
We're very excited to have you officially elected and looking forward to working with you this year. And Veronica and Tori have been sworn in. Leslie was supposed to be sworn in tonight, but is ill and is not able to be at the board meeting. So we are planning to have an oath of office ceremony involving Leslie next week, and we'll get the information out on that as soon as we know what it is. And hopefully Judge Sully will be able to officiate at that one as well.
Did you tell them about the new tradition that we have here?
What is that?
At the first meeting, every time
Dinner?
you vote, you have to vote with your foam finger.
I think that'd be a good one.
I don't know about that, Scott.
A couple other things. You will find at your place next to your computer screen there, you should find biographies of all administrators in Maricopa Unified School District. And we decided, especially for Veronica's benefit, but really for everyone's, to get a picture and a brief biography for each administrator. So you have a name and a face and a little bit of background on each person. And I think that's probably going to be helpful to everybody. And I think this will end up being a good project. We're going to start using this information on the website, and we haven't quite got that all done yet. But we have a very impressive group of administrators in our district. And I think you'll agree once you read those biographies, those resumes really is what they are, of their qualifications for their positions. It's very impressive. So hopefully you'll find that useful. Wanted to let you know about the Maricopa Unified School District, Maricopa Police Department School Safety Forum, which will be tomorrow night in this room from 7 to 8:30 p.m. And everyone is invited. Myself and Chief Stahl will be giving an overview of student safety issues and our student safety plan in the school district. But we know this is a topic that's very much in everyone's minds, given the tragedy that occurred in Connecticut. And so we want to have parents and guardians give them the opportunity to come in and talk with us. The community is also invited. After those opening comments, we'll break up into small groups, and about 14 administrators will lead those small groups, and we'll just be asking people some questions. So kind of getting ahead of myself, that's what the agenda will look like. Then we'll have the reports from small groups, and then we'll wrap up and should be done by about 8:30. We're expecting possibly a big crowd, so we're going to open up the room and push the doors back. We'll leave the small tables on the side, so those will be good for the small group discussions. We'll capture all of the input that we get, and then we're going to type it up and reflect on it. We think it'll be good. We think we have a good safety plan, but we think there's always ways to improve it, so we're anxious to hear what parents, guardians, community members have to tell us. We're going to ask them, these two questions: what's going well in MUSD concerning student safety and what could be improved? And we'll reflect on that. Then we plan to have a follow-up meeting. Could possibly even have 2 follow-up meetings this spring. We'll see kind of what the mood is tomorrow night, but we want to reflect on that information and then maybe report back to to interested people later in the spring. So that's our plan. It should be a good evening. Looking forward to it. So you're all welcome to attend, and I'd love to see you there. Another issue that we're working on that I mentioned in our last meeting, and that is our budget process for 2013-14. One of the biggest jobs that the governing board has to take on each year is to approve that budget, and we get an early start on that. We have a task that's difficult this year, and that is that we will have to cut approximately $1 million out of our budget. And that's no easy task because our budget is fairly tight right now. And this is an abbreviated timeline. Mr. Roush and I have been working on this quite a bit, and we have a more detailed version, but this gives you the main benchmarks and kind of an overview. The budget committee will start on January 15th, and that's been a tradition in the school district, and it's a good tradition, I believe. And that committee makes recommendations to me as superintendent. So I will drop in on that committee. I will not attend every meeting because I want them to deliberate, make recommendations to me, and we will work on that together. And then we'll give an update at each school board meeting. So you can expect an update at the next board meeting on January 23rd, update to the school board on what the budget committee is thinking about and that kind of thing. We'll do that at each meeting until we get this budget adopted. Each time the committee has some new information, we will bring that to you at a governing board meeting. I didn't put that up here for every meeting. And then on February 20th, I plan to have my first superintendent coffee with a budget discussion. I plan to have 2 sessions. One at 10 a.m. in the morning, and that one will be in this room. And then for people that would rather attend in the evening, that'll be at 7 p.m. And we plan to have those at the different elementary schools. So we're still finalizing that schedule, but kind of get out in the neighborhoods, make it easier, hopefully, for people to attend. Anybody can attend, obviously. You don't have to be in that neighborhood, but want to give people a chance to discuss, give ideas, give input. We want to have a transparent process with lots of opportunities for input. Obviously, people can attend governing board meetings and provide that input during call to the public, but want to have multiple opportunities. So there's a series of budget committee meetings. The 5th one should occur by about, the plan is to have it on March 12th. And ideally, that would be the last budget committee meeting. If we need a 6th meeting, we do have it penciled into the schedule. But the last one would be, I believe, 2 weeks later, so on about the 26th of March. That would be definitely the last budget committee meeting. They'll wrap up their work. Assuming they're done on the 12th, then on the 13th of March, we will put those budget committee recommendations online, and we will give people an opportunity to give us feedback. So we'll get feedback from staff and community on what the budget committee is thinking about. We'll have another superintendent coffee on March 20th. And then by state law, at our first meeting in April, we'll have a budget hearing and revision for 2011-12 if it's necessary. It may not be, but we won't know until we get there. We'll have to finalize this year's budget before we can move forward and adopt the next budget. And then at that meeting also, by law, we will approve certified administrative contracts and make decisions about those contracts. Then the next big benchmark would be June 26th. We will look at a proposed budget, and a final budget hearing and adoption will occur no later than July 10th. And that'll be the adoption for the 2013-14 budget. So that's the timeline, and I'll be publishing a more detailed timeline that Mr. Roush has put together that has all this information on it with every single meeting listed, but this gives you the flavor of what we're going to be doing over the next several months.
Dr. Chestnut, what's the makeup of the budget committee?
I do not have that with me, and Mr. Roush is ill today, so I don't know, but I can get you that information and send that out to you. I know he does have it finalized and has everybody in place. I know that, I believe that Jim Reeves is one of the co-chairs of the committee. Did you know that?
Congratulations.
You are in the committee, though, aren't you? Okay, well, I will get that to you, and I'll double check with Jim, too, before I send it out. Okay, I want to remind you that the Banner Mobile Health Clinic opens on January 16th at Maricopa Elementary School. Very excited about this. For students and children in our community that do not have health insurance, this is an option that they will have. And medical care will be free there, and all of the information on how to schedule an appointment is on our website. It's on the home page, and so we invite parents to look up that information, schedule an appointment if it's needed, and it would be open to students in the community. Children in the community do not have to be students in the Maricopa Unified School District, and there's instructions on the website on how any children or the parents of any children can get those appointments scheduled. So we're excited about that, and this bus is not going to be easy to miss. I've seen it driving around. It was in town, and it is very easy to spot, so you will know it when you see it. So we're excited about that opportunity for our students. I want to let you know about the MUSD Kindergarten Roundup. As I understand, it's the first time we've done it in January, and it will be held on January 29th from 5. It's actually, I forgot to change this slide. The actual time is 5 until 7 p.m. And we'll be getting this information on the website. We'll be getting it out to parents. We'll be getting it on a press release, and we'll get this word out. But parents will be able to register their kindergarten students at all 6 elementary schools. We do want to remind parents that it is possible that there will not be all-day kindergarten in 2013-14. That's part of our budget process, that we're going to have to come to a decision on that issue. I wish I could definitively give people an answer today. We can't do it. We need to go through that budget process that I outlined. That's a big decision, and we want to deliberate on that and make sure we make a good decision. So we just want people to be aware of that up front. And we'll keep people informed as we know more information. But that's Kindergarten Roundup that's coming up. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Dr. Chestnut. Any questions for Dr. Chestnut on his report? We'll move on to the information items and work study. Back to you, Dr. Chestnut.
Well, it is my pleasure to introduce to you Desert Wind Middle School Math Improvement Team and Principal Joe Veras. And we asked Desert Wind to be the first school to report. Our plan is to have each of our 10 schools report to the governing board this spring, beginning tonight. And we are going to focus all of those presentations on what we're doing to improve math student achievement. And just like really every school district in the nation, math is a tough subject for American students. Maybe it's a cultural thing, I'm not sure, but we are working hard on this, and we are determined to improve student achievement in this area. I think they have a lot of exciting things to report to you, so I will turn it over to Principal Joe Veras.
I'm sorry, we don't have a Desert Wind phone you tonight, but we'll find one. Good evening, President Bartle, Vice President Anderson, members of the board, Dr. Chestnut, and the Maricopa community. I'm Joe Veras. I'm the principal of Desert Wind Middle School, and we are honored to present our plan tonight on our math improvement. The people that I will introduce here shortly have been an integral part to our success and the development of this presentation. Tonight you will hear from Jessica Ansley, Chris King, Shirley Nash, Diana Volante, Kevin Walters, Samantha Tallman, James King, Evan Nechampkin, and Derek Cooley.
Good evening. I am Jessica Ansley. I am Desert Wind's academic coach. Our district has implemented the Charlotte Danielson's framework to gauge teacher effectiveness. This specific framework displays and describes the approaches teachers can take to recognize their professional responsibilities. In each domain, there are several components that assist the domains in the teaching profession. Recognizing the impact that this framework has made for the teaching profession, we have prepared this presentation to model her framework for displaying our math improvement plans. We incorporate this framework in our professional developments, our department meetings, collaboration meetings, to create a cohesive system. Our presentation will include the 4 domains that make up this framework, which include the first domain, planning and preparation, which refers to the way the teacher designs the upcoming lessons. The second domain, the classroom environment, which references the need the teachers must establish to create a comfortable learning environment to promote student learning. The third domain is instruction, which is the central part of teaching and refers to engaging the students to learn to achieve lifelong learners. And the fourth domain is the professional responsibilities, which describes the behind the scenes where teachers demonstrate their commitment to the teaching profession. We have one final slide of our areas of challenges that we address daily. All of our math teachers are highly qualified and are able to transition with all students. They all have their middle school credentials to teach at all levels. This has shown great impact because teachers are already know their students and are able to dive right into the curriculum without hesitation. We have identified our students' deficiencies, which allows us to fluidly move our students depending on their specific needs. Our teachers use this data, gathered from AIMS scores and current Galileo data, to help guide their instruction to meet the needs of the individual students. Our teachers at Maricopa Unified School District, they use the Maricopa Unified School District's curriculum map as a guide to pace their instruction based on the Arizona state standards. In this curriculum map, the teachers have began to implement the upcoming Common Core standards. As academic coach, I am responsible for analyzing student and teacher data and providing feedback to the teachers. One such response that I prepared for our teachers was identifying the bottom 25% of our learners. I also located those students who performed at grade level in previous district assessments that have fallen into the next category. I give teachers different strategies to incorporate into their classrooms to meet the challenging needs of reaching all student learners. I am there as a positive support for teachers and students. With the need to responding to math intervention, I have applied one-on-one instructional support as well as working with small groups as in a pull-out intervention. My role is to provide teachers with professional development using a wide variety of instructional strategies to increase student achievement. As an additional resource to increase teacher effectiveness and to assist the Danielson's framework, our district has asked that all of our teachers be trained in the Robert Marzano's Classroom Instruction That Works book study. I can proudly say that all of our math teachers have taken this course and have begun to utilize these methods within their teaching.
Hello, my name is Samantha Tallman, and I am the site coordinator for the Desert Wind 21st Century Program. We are utilizing the 21st Century Program to increase academic success by increasing the instructional day by 2.5 hours. Highly qualified teachers provide math tutoring as well as homework help in both the morning and the afternoon sessions. Our program allows us to provide individualized attention to each student. On average, each tutoring class has a ratio of 5 students to 1 teacher. The 21st Century Program is available to our entire student body, but focuses on those who need help the most.
Hello, I'm Kevin Walters. I'm 6th, 7th, and 8th grade math at Desert Wind. Some of the things about our classroom environment are that we build relationships with our students. As you can see, our staff, we have just math, club sponsors, coaches, choir teachers, student council leaders. You will see us at sporting events, after school at dances, in the community, and at other school functions. So it helps us build great relationships with our students. Also, our team can all access the multiple reports that Galileo data can show us. Our students are aware of how they have scored on AIMS and on previous Galileo tests. Galileo helps us reteach concepts that may have been missed using test-like questions, creating specific quizzes, curriculum-based lessons that provide preparation for Galileo and AIMS testing in the future.
Good evening. My name is Shirley Nash, and I teach 6th grade math at Desert Wind. Everything that the Desert Wind teachers do, we try to do in a positive context. And that begins with our 3 general school rules that are posted in each one of the classrooms. And those rules are: be respectful, be prepared and on time, and please give your best effort. These positively stated rules have reduced the behavioral issues and therefore increased our academic achievement. Most teachers also assign classroom jobs, and the students are always excited to take part in these jobs. Each teacher has their own set of jobs, and it varies from teacher to teacher. Some of the general jobs include attendance taker, paper passers, cleaners, and office runner. These jobs help the students to take a responsible and positive role in helping the classroom run smoothly. Another part of our classroom environment is our focus walls. The focus wall includes many aspects of the current subject area that's being taught in each classroom. For instance, my current focus wall is focused on evaluating expressions. Included on this wall are the vocabulary words for that section, and some of them currently on my wall are variable, variable expression, squared numbers, square roots, cube numbers, and cubed roots. Included on this wall for the vocabulary area, sometimes the students take the vocabulary word and do their own version of it to put up on the wall. And included on this would be a picture that they would draw that would represent the word for them. They would write the book definition, and then they would also write a definition in their own words that might be simpler for other students to understand versus the book definition. Also included on these focus walls are cross-curricular connections, where that math might be used in another subject area, and real-world connections, so the students are going to know where in the future they'll be using this math. And some of the teachers also have a separate vocabulary wall, and this wall contains only the vocabulary, and it's usually done by students, and they usually just build on it throughout the year so those words stay up and the students can see them, and it just progresses as the school year progresses.
Good evening, I'm Diana Volante. I teach 8th grade pre-algebra and algebra at Desert Wind Middle School. At Desert Wind, daily objectives are written in every classroom. These posted objectives are used to introduce the daily lesson. Students are aware of what material they should understand or begin to understand at the end of the period, along with how they are being assessed on the presented objectives. During the instruction time, students also use cognitive strategies to rate their level of understanding. In my classes, students rate their work and homework exercises by simply using a series of 3 types of smiley faces that depict whether 1, they understand the work completely, 2, they need more practice or help with it, or 3, they don't have a clue at all. This system has helped me as a teacher at Desert Wind by identifying the objectives that I need to reteach or those that I just need to review. This year, teachers at Desert Wind are also integrating the Common Core curriculum and the depths of knowledge into daily classroom instruction. The DOK is a scale of cognitive demand that references the complexity of mental processing that must occur to answer a question, perform a task, or generate a product. It includes guidelines for the roles of the teacher and the students that they are to perform at each level, along with a list of possible product outcomes to prove their mastery of the objective. The DOK consists of 4 levels: recall and reproduction, working with skills and concepts, short-term strategic thinking, and extended strategic thinking. In level 1, subject matter usually involves working with facts, terms, or properties. The teacher directs, shows, demonstrates. The student responds, absorbs, and translates. In level 2, subject matter elements compare and contrast material, convert numbers, facts, information from one form to another, and describe or explain patterns and relationships. The teacher observes, evaluates, facilitates. The student solves problems, demonstrates use of knowledge, and calculates. Level 3 subject matter demands a short-term use of higher order thinking processing skills, such as analysis and evaluation, to solve real-world problems with predictable outcomes. The key marker for this level is stating one's reasoning. The teacher clarifies, guides, observes, and probes. The student discusses, thinks deeply, decides, argues, and tests. Level 4 subject matter elements are extending the use of higher order thinking process such as synthesis, reflection, and assessment to solve real world problems without predictable results. The teacher extends, evaluates, and reflects. The student designs, formulates, plans, creates. By incorporating these concepts, teachers at Desert Wind are preparing the students for the transition to the Common Core standards to create higher level cognitive processing skills necessary for academic achievement. Also this year, every Wednesday at Desert Wind, 8th grade teachers, math teachers are using the Algebra Ready curriculum, which I have brought for you to view if you would like. This curriculum has been provided by our curriculum department. Algebra Ready is a systematic approach that teaches algebraic thinking, analytical and logical skills. It incorporates key vocabulary and the use of reference sheets for students to develop integral, algebraic, analytical, and logical skills that are crucial for algebraic success in 9th grade. Students collaborate while working in pairs. They complete exercises independently, showing all the steps involved to get the answer. They critique each other's work by highlighting any incorrect steps. The student then analyzes their own work, identifies what they did wrong, and corrects it. They then discuss the reasoning behind their correction. In my classes, the use of this curriculum has greatly increased student productivity, memorization of key concepts, and student group collaboration skills.
Along with Algebra Ready, we're using technology in the classroom, including 10 Marks and Khan Academy. Both of those are online learning content programs that you can have assignments, practice problems, videos, and hints that'll help students understand and solve concepts on their own. Also, it can diagnose deficiencies, providing instant feedback as soon as it's finished. In my classroom, I can have students within 5 minutes of taking something up to my room, or up to me, work one-on-one with them, showing them problems maybe that they have missed or got incorrect, talking to them right away of how they can make corrections and work on it for next time. Also, it allows students to not move on and progress until they have mastered certain areas of content. Right? Also, as mentioned before, the data from our Galileo and AIMS drives our instructions. It lets us know what we need to focus on and reteach. We all use practice tests of AIMS and Galileo in previous tests to give test talks. This allows us to give our students credible ways to make educated answers and to improve our scores. In our staff meetings, we also go around having few questions from AIMS practice tests with the entire staff so we can use cross-curricular instructions on how they can help teach some of the math concepts in everyday learning.
Good evening. My name is Chris King, and I teach 6th and 7th grade math at Desert Wind Middle School. We provided a graph here. The graph shows our test results, Galileo pretest, and our first Galileo benchmark. The Galileo pretest consisted of 50% of the previous year and 50% of the current year. The first Galileo benchmark was 100% of the grade level, current grade level. Our pretest was given in August, and our first Galileo benchmark was administered in October. And we also have our next Galileo benchmark will be at the end of January. At the time of our first Galileo benchmark, approximately 30% of the school curriculum had been taught at that time. The graph shows our development level averages. 6th grade went up from 1070 to 1079. 7th grade increased from 1130 to 1137. 8th grade increased from 1197 to 1212. And we had 8th grade algebra, which increased from 1487 to 1511, showing improvement in all levels. Our pretest showed the results of 48% of our 6th graders at the time were at meet or exceeds. 45% of our 7th graders at the time were at meet or exceeds, and 50% of our 8th graders were at meet and exceeds. We are on track to surpass our SMART goals of 60% or better, meeting or exceeding on AIMS and Galileo.
Good evening, my name is James King. I am the math resource teacher at Desert Wind. And our staff at Desert Wind has taken it upon ourselves to assume the following responsibilities. We have worked as a team to build a school-wide SMART goal that says 60% of students will meet or exceed on the Galileo post-test and on AIMS. A SMART goal is a goal that is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. As of benchmark 1, we are currently at 47% school-wide. Our math teachers send home newsletters twice a month along with student progress reports. Our newsletters consist of present topics being covered in class and a look into the coming weeks. These newsletters, along with the progress reports, have raised our parental involvement and increased our PTO activity. We feel that the increased information that is being sent home has increased student and parent accountability. We do not think it is possible to send home too much information to our parents about what is happening in the classroom. Our math department holds weekly department meetings where we collaborate and build on each other's insight. We have integrated our math department with the physical education department and the science department by the use of fitness tests. Students apply real-life values into formulas to calculate things such as their own body mass index. We have used professional developments to increase teacher effectiveness. In one professional development, we looked into brain-based lesson planning, which dove into how the brain processes information and allows us as math teachers to use bell-to-bell instruction time. We have also reviewed and discussed an article on growth mindsets from teachers as well as students' perspectives. As a department, we all believe that we portray growth mindsets in the classroom, and we all believe that students have the ability to learn. In addition, our principal, academic coach, and math teachers were part of the district's Understanding by Design curriculum team and worked towards building the district's curriculum guide.
And now we come to our areas of challenge. The average class size at Desert Wind Middle School currently is between 32 and 43 students per class. Unfortunately, when the class size exceeds 25 to 30 students, there is an increase in managing student behavior. And the time that is spent by the teachers managing these behaviors decreases the amount of instructional time and cognitive engagement that we get with the students. It also increases the difficulty for small group productive work and the time for individual instruction, which some of our students truly need.
Another one of our challenges is the abundance and the amount of testing that the students go through. On Galileo days, students are tested for 3 hours, and they usually last 2 days. So that's 6 hours in 2 days. Along with the Galileo testing, they have a writing benchmark that is 2 hours, and then a math benchmark that is another hour. So in a 29-hour week, they're missing a third of instructional time. That amount is 4 times a year, as well as a week for Ames. That all adds up to students missing about 2 weeks of instructional time, and that adds to the frustration and anxiety of the students.
Another area of challenge is misunderstanding of what a benchmark measures. As stated earlier, our benchmark tests the entire school year. At the first test, 30% of the material had been taught. There's frustration that sets in with the students as they're taking a test and they're seeing material they hadn't seen yet. So as teachers, we motivate the students, we give them test-taking strategies, and we just try to impart on them to do their best and to move on through the test so that they can get to the questions that they have seen and they have been taught to be successful in the material they've already learned.
Our last challenge in our math classes is the availability of current updated resource curriculum that is aligned to Common Core state standards that integrates the mastery of mathematical application skills. The challenge is finding the needed additional time to create, research, and gather these materials for students and parents to use at home. Most parents are at a loss when they need to help their student with their homework. Students return to school frustrated, and then they want to give up because they feel that they are not as smart as the other students, or they can't keep up, and they just tell you that they get it when they really are afraid to ask. These resource materials help build student math confidence, which is critical for their continued success. At Desert Wind, we have accepted these challenges that all districts face and continue to be successful. In closing, Desert Wind Middle School is using Danielson's framework that includes planning and preparation, classroom environment, instruction, and professional responsibility to continuously increase our math achievement at Desert Wind Middle School. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our presentation. Any questions from the board?
I have a question. President Barnum, did you have something?
Please.
Great to see the whole team aspect, especially incorporating the physical sense, which is so important. I know as a PE teacher, reinforcing the math and science, so I applaud you for that. So thank you for including all teachers who all go to school for the same amount of years. So I appreciate that. Just a couple of, I don't need answers now, but just something for next time. So you've presented us with your challenges. Do you have suggestions for decreasing the testing and increasing the instruction time? And is it scheduling? Is it teachers? Is it, I mean, it's just, you presented the challenges. I'm just asking, do you have solutions?
I think we've talked about this numerous times as a staff. It's a double-edged sword. You have to have the assessment pieces to see where your students are at to gain that knowledge. It does take an additional amount of time, so it is a unique challenge that it is something that is needed and required, but you do have to face we may lose some instructional time to do that test, but it's highly needed. And I think we've accepted that, and we've learned to build around that. But it is a challenge to know that there are times you may lose instructional time.
As you do this, do you think that as you practice it, it will take less away from the instruction time? Does that make sense?
I think it does. As you can see in the presentation, this is a remarkable team. They are incredible. They continuously try to figure things out and make things better and make things more efficient and effective for our building. So to answer your question, absolutely, because I believe in them and they will do it.
Thank you. And then one last, as a parent, I know President Bartle, I'm pushing it here. As a parent who is one of those that gets frustrated, because my son's at Desert Wind with the math, are there online tutorials somewhere and websites that could be included and sent home in teaching parents?
I'll answer that. Yes, there are.
Okay.
I have my own curriculum that I'm very lucky. I attended a 6-day conference for Holt when they adopted their curriculum to Arizona State standards. So I use that curriculum. It's phenomenal. It's 3 CDs. I plug it into a computer. I can print out resource pages for students to take home. They're called family letters, which explain the day or the chapter's objectives. It gives parents a breakdown with 2 to 4 examples showing how to do the work. And, you know, if those resources were available to every teacher, yes, it really would alleviate that stress, because that's the biggest thing, especially with my algebra students. Their parents cannot help them at all. You know, and they're more resourceful. It's the pre-algebra students that really show the most need, because they are not as resourceful and they are not as good as problem solving. And, you know, I always tell them, yes, you can go online. I give them websites, Khan Academy, math.com. But it's very difficult because they don't have that confidence. It's their children and they're still learning. You know, they always need that extra pat on the back and to know that they're doing it correctly.
I mean, parents are the key. Parents
Yes.
increase student achievement, so I'm just...
We can provide those for you.
Okay. Well, not just me. I'm just thinking I'm a parent and I'm involved in the schools and I don't even know about them. So is there a way to get that message out as a broader...
When we came back from first semester to second semester, that's one of the things that we talked about as a staff in the monthly emails that we receive from the teachers. We're going to start adding additional resources, places where parents can click onto the web and get new resources and information.
Go PE.
You didn't want to ask them?
You guys make me very thankful I got through middle school math when I did. I might still be in 8th grade. But terrific job.
Yeah.
Thank you for the presentation. You've got a very impressive team, Mr. Veras. It's no wonder you guys are getting the results. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Conley, welcome.
Good evening, President Bartle, Vice President Anderson, members of the board, Superintendent Chestnut. It's a pleasure to be here tonight, and Desert Wind staff absolutely need to be applauded along with their leader for not only implementing a fantastic school improvement plan, that is very focused, but taking the direction of the district and following through with what we're doing as a district as a whole. And it really shows that Maricopa is unified and we're driving towards higher achievement. So great job to our Desert Wind staff. And they perfectly led me into what I'm going to briefly provide information, and that's our district improvement plan. Each year, we have to look at our needs and assess our needs. So again, the information that the Desert Wind staff provided you with, what are some obstacles that we need to overcome? Absolutely, and that's why it is called a district continuous improvement plan. It's always a work in progress. Goal 1 is termed teaching for learning. Some of the verbiage is given to us by the Department of Education and our federal Department of Education as well. And this is their verbiage, teaching for learning. But when you really process what that means, it is, why are we here? We are here to ensure that students not only achieve, but we're ensuring that they're learning. Goal 1 is based upon what the district framework is held around, and that's our promising practices. I know that last year there was lots of information about what is promising practices, and all it is a framework that establishes a common language of instruction. So regardless if you are a kindergarten teacher or a kindergarten student, or if you are a AP calculus teacher, our district has a framework that all of our staff understands and is following. It has strong curriculum alignment, effective instructional practices, aligned assessments, and then overarching a system for professional practice to continually reflect on who we are as a staff and who we are as leaders to get us and to meet the students' needs. Goal 1 does entail, it is a gigantic goal, and it's broken down into 2 smaller pieces, and that's goal 1 and goal 1A and 1B, which is reading proficiency and math proficiency. When we look again at what our district improvement plan is based around, it's curriculum. We are looking at full implementation of our Common Core state standards in math up to the 10th grade by the end of this year, and will be fully implemented in math by the end of next year. Reading follows that same process. And it does follow our understanding by design framework. So I know that some of you have heard me say it looks at the 10th grader and what they need, or excuse me, the 12th grader and what they need to have at that last day of graduation, and it works backwards as the first day of kindergarten. So understanding by design is also termed backwards design. So we're starting with those overarching main essential learning, and it goes backwards, and then we start moving back forwards to ensure that it's just a streamlined alignment with curriculum. Instruction, we are basing that around highly effective teaching practices that are research-based, and they have had success in multiple schools, multiple states, multiple districts. We do use Marzano, Socratic Seminars, and Kagan. Those are some of our professional developments that we ensure that all of our teachers have. Our assessment, as you heard, we are required to give our state and national assessments, and in order for us to make sure that we are doing what we need to do for each student, we do give our district assessments as well. And a piece of that is that we have to remember is that with new legislation that we also have a teacher performance evaluation measure, and that is part of the assessment piece that is built into that. And finally, in each one of our reading and math proficiency goals, we have what's called response to intervention, meaning how are we responding to those students that have greater needs than what we're delivering in our general education classroom. What other additional tiers of support do we have available for all of our students? That is goal 1, 1A, and 1B. Questions? Thank you.
The 8th item on our agenda is to approve the consent agenda. And before we entertain motions on that, one of the items on our consent is item 8C, approved donations. And I just would like to recognize a couple of the donors on that list. We have a $500 donation from Joni Harris and Jeannie Baker, representing Church for the Nations, to the homeless program of holiday gifts. And also Councilman Bridger Kimball, who's donated $1,000 to our school district. So thanks to them and everybody who donates to improving our community through our schools. With that, I'd like to entertain motions to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 9A, discussion and possible approval of personnel schedule, which includes resignations, reclassifications, terminations, non-renewals, new position requests, employment ratifications, stipends, leave of absence, FMLA requests, and other administrative actions. Mr. Beckett.
Thank you, President Bartle, Vice President Anderson, the Governing Board, Dr. Chestnut. You have the personnel schedule in front of you tonight, and I can take your questions at this point in time.
I have no questions.
You always look at me.
This is your item, Mrs. Goodrich.
I already asked my questions. I got my answer.
Oh, I do have a question whenever you're done.
No, please. Mrs. Anderson.
Number 52. Does that fee then come out of the rental? So it's charged back to the custodial services are charged back to, so we're actually reimbursed for that.
That is correct.
That was it.
Is there a motion to approve item 9A?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Beckett.
Thank you.
Item B, discussion and possible approval of teacher termination hearings being conducted by a hearing officer. Dr. Chestnut.
A board policy requires that this be updated, this motion be approved by the board each year, and the other option would be for the board to hear these hearings. We will bring back at a future date the actual list of possible candidates for that job, but we have to get permission to move forward on that with this action item.
So we're not changing any of the processes that we've had in place so far. So this is just a continuation of what we've been doing.
Correct. It's an annual approval.
Okay. I move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Discussion and possible approval of student expulsion hearings being conducted before a hearing officer selected from a list of hearing officers approved by the governing board.
Similar action item. We need to approve this annually, and we will bring back a list in the near future. There is some additional training that's going on right now of hearing officers, and once we know who is available, we'll bring back a list for your approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item D, discussion and possible approval of first reading of updated policy G5150 GCMF, professional staff duties and responsibilities. Dr. Chestnut.
All the policies tonight are being recommended by the Arizona School Board Association, updates based on changes in law, case law, that kind of thing. This particular one really just makes it clear that one of the teacher's primary responsibilities is to improve student learning. And you would think that, well, that's probably, that language must have been in there from the very beginning, and it wasn't. And we had the same situation in the state of Washington. Sometimes we just focused on more of the details, and maybe that one was just taken as for granted. But being very explicit, the student learning is one of the professional responsibilities of teachers. We will follow through on that primarily through our evaluation process. And as you know, we're now in the second year of a performance-based evaluation accountability system, and the state of Arizona requires that at least 33% of a teacher's evaluation be based on improvement in student achievement, as well as principals and administrators. 33% of their evaluation must be based upon student achievement. And so we implemented that type of system last year based on the Danielson framework that you heard about earlier from Desert Wind. And so we're moving forward on that. So this year, teacher evaluations will be based on Ames and Galileo scores, and that'll make up actually 34% of their evaluation for this school year. The language in the policy is somewhat open-ended to focus just on student learning, and then we will tweak that, what that means on an annual basis through the evaluation process as we communicate that with staff and work on it, and try and improve the system each year.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
I have a question first, President Barber.
Fire away.
On the line that they've added is make student learning the primary focus of the teacher's professional time. Who or do we have a definition of student learning? And does it need to be defined, or is it defined somewhere so when a teacher reads this, they know exactly?
I think that teachers in our district do understand what that means, and as I said, it's part of our annual evaluation, and they're very clear that it's going to be 34%. It's going to be based upon Ames and Galileo data.
Okay. Thank you. So
Any
is
other
there a
questions
motion?
or motions? There's not a motion
Oh,
currently.
motion to approve policy.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve updated policy G5150 GCMF. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Discussion and possible approval of first reading of updated policy I-2550 IHBCA programs for pregnant parenting students. Dr. Chestnut?
Once again, recommended by Arizona School Board Association. Be glad to answer any questions.
I have none. It's pretty clear.
I have a question or a comment, suggestion, if you will. The second paragraph here states, pregnant students may elect to remain in the regular school program and shall not be involuntarily excluded from any part of the school program, provided, however, that reasonable safeguards are maintained both for the schools and the students' best interests. The next sentence is removed in this current update, and that read, pregnant students shall notify school authorities of their status as soon as it is ascertained. I don't question that there's some legal issues, privacy or whatnot, that probably prompted that, but my concern is that we're removing a sentence that about notifying the district of the student's pregnancy, yet in the prior sentence, we obligate ourselves to take reasonable safeguards for the school and the student based on this condition, but we're not aware of that condition necessarily anymore. So I'm wondering what you guys would think about adding a clause at the end of that sentence that says, and assuming the school has been notified by student of student's condition, or something along those lines to reference the fact that the school is not, doesn't have a crystal ball and doesn't, if the school's not notified, it can't take reasonable safeguards. Does that make sense? Am I totally confused?
It makes sense. The way I read it is if we know they're pregnant, then we follow the policy. If we don't know, if they haven't notified anybody, then we're not under obligation to follow this policy. That's how I read it. That if the parents and the student don't want to notify us, that's their private information. If we don't know about it, I see it as it's in there when it says pregnant students. It means that we've already know that they're pregnant, for those that choose to notify us.
A student could be pregnant without us knowing.
Correct.
But then
that policy wouldn't apply.
The policy wouldn't apply. That makes sense?
I guess I disagree with the definition of a pregnant student. Just, you're not pregnant once you tell the school you're pregnant, right?
I understand what you're saying, Scott. But I don't know what safeguards we would put in place that would be different from a pregnant student versus a regular student. If there's an issue with the student who's pregnant where it's a high risk, then that's totally up to them to take those precautions and to notify the school, and I know that the school will put in a plan in place for them. But I understand what you're saying. How can we be held to this policy with if we don't know that they're pregnant.
But we wouldn't be.
Well, that could probably be argued.
It's about protecting ourselves from a liability perspective, right? So.
Well, I don't know. I mean, is this something that maybe we should have some advice from our legal counsel on I mean, is this a liability policy that we're looking at? I mean, or is this?
I thought it was just equal education more.
Yeah, I mean.
The next line says the superintendent will establish
Yes.
procedures as necessary to implement this policy. So to me, that covers both questions of liability.
Well, if I could jump in, this is our current policy. The recommendation is just to remove the one sentence. And, you know, I've only been here one semester, but I haven't heard of any issues involving pregnant students at, you know, any of our schools. So my theory is that so far it's working. We're following through on, you know, changes we need to make and that kind of thing.
My concern is by removing that sentence, it changes the meaning of the policy.
I don't think it does. I don't think it does.
Well, my question
clarifies it.
My question is, why is ASBA recommending that sentence be removed?
I think it's part of HIPAA privacy laws that the student, because the way it's stated, it says the student will notify the district. The student really, or parents, don't have to notify. Your health is your private information.
Okay.
And I think it's part of the HIPAA clause that come out. That's the way I understand it. So I'm fine with the way it's written. It's more about privacy. But we as a district, once we know we have the policy in place and we're obligated to provide an equal education.
Ms. Gay, any thoughts?
No.
Okay. And being mindful that we have this is the first reading, so we have a second reading coming up at our next meeting. I will make a motion that we approve this item with the following amendment, changing the second paragraph to read, pregnant students may elect to remain in the regular school program and shall not be involuntarily excluded from any part of the school program, provided, however, that reasonable safeguards are maintained both for the schools and the students' best interests, assuming that the school has been notified by student of student's condition.
I'll second that.
A motion and
go ahead and vote on it.
Discussion?
I think we leave it as ASBA has it written. I don't think we need to change it.
Okay, there's a motion,
That's
second.
fine.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Ms. Gay, how did you vote? I'm sorry, I wasn't.
I was with you guys the very first round.
Aye. Okay, motion carries 3-1. Item F, discussion and possible approval of first reading of updated policy I-6400, IJNDB, use of technology resources in instruction. Dr. Chestnut.
Yeah, once again, just some minor changes to our current technology policy being recommended by ASBA.
I have no questions. Motion to approve the policy I-6400, IJNDB.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item G, discussion and possible approval of first reading of updated policy J0750JFAA, admission of resident students. Dr. Chestnut?
This updates our current policy. In several of our policies, it refers to the fact that we check on the residency of students. We serve students that live in our community. If they reside here, we serve them, et cetera. This just is the latest update based on changes in Arizona law.
Questions or motions?
Motion to approve policy J0750JFAA.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. H, discussion and possible approval of first reading of updated policy J0800 JFAB, tuition admission of non-resident students. Any questions of Dr. Chestnut?
I move we approve the first reading of policy J0800 JFAB.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Just two remaining items, going back up to number 2. Elect governing board president to serve from January 2013 to December 2013.
Okay, we're number 2, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we have Mrs. Anderson serve as the board president from January 2013 to December 2013.
Is there a second?
Can I second myself?
Sure.
I was going to second.
Oh, okay.
Let her second. She hasn't seconded anything tonight.
I second that.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Mrs. Anderson.
Thank you.
Hey, congratulations.
I appreciate
The gavel is officially yours.
that. You've never even
I hope you use it
pounded
with as much frequency as I do.
All right, well, thank you. Well, that takes us to our next item. First of all, President Bartle, thank you for setting us up and getting us going. I appreciate your leadership.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your support. Governing Board Vice President to serve from January 2013 to December 2013. Are there any?
I'd like to make a motion that Patty Coutre serves us in that capacity.
I will second that.
Wow.
All in favor say, ooh, sorry.
All right, there is a motion and a second for Patty Coutre to be Vice President. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Vice President Coutre.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
You got one more item,
Oh,
dear.
sorry, I was going back to the, okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second? I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Full power.